Welcome back everybody to Sweet Home 3D, and in this video we're going to do a kitchen build from A to Z. So it's going to be a tutorial. This is the first episode of 3. So in this one we're going to mount the sink. That's the big part of this. We're going to source our cabinets, lowers and uppers, and we're going to do the kick panels today as well. So those are the three things we're going to do in this tutorial. So with that, let's go ahead and hop right into the video. Alright, so before we get this party started, we want to at least find a color scheme. Doesn't have to be permanent, but so we're not looking at the stock colors while we're building our kitchen, right? Also, it wouldn't hurt to get a pencil and paper and kind of draw out a rough draft of what we want the kitchen to look like. So that's already been done. We had a rough draft, and then we had the, I guess, the final blueprint, if you will. So that has already been done. So we're gonna grab probably wanna have like a hardwood laminate look, something like that. Something modern, newer, contemporary-er. Just coming up with words today, right? Just coming up with words. So I think that works. That works. And then we're gonna select that, and we're gonna get our walls, and we're good to go. So we're gonna have a nice, modern, contemporary look. Next thing we want to do is source our products or our items. We don't have to do this all in one session here. So you get what you need. So I know we need a sink, and we need some lower cabinets, and we need the upper ones as well. We're not going to be working with those too much today. Pretty much we're going to be doing like our kick panels, mounting the sink. What else are we doing? And that's it, just getting some of our items. So here is it says chest, but we can use it for a lower cabinet. We can absolutely use that for a lower cabinet. It's highlighted in red. That means it is the most recent upload, as I understand it, to the website. So we did talk about in the prior videos that we're going to try to use more Sweet Home models if we can. So we're going to try to rock every Sweet Home item that we can for this kitchen build. That is applicable. Applicable? That's a hard word for me. Anyway, so we're going to get into the kick panels. So first what we're going to do is, I don't know how you do it with the mouse, but we're going to Control M. Your Control M is going to bring up that menu that we just saw. And then we can set our wall height to 3 inches. So we usually like to do somewhere between 3 and 5 inches. 5 inches is a little on the deep end. So 3 inches is usually what we use. Now, I think they have conversion calculators out there. If you do not use inches and feet, you can use and plug that into like a conversion calculator and find out what that is for you, just in case you don't use inches, okay? Or you can eyeball it, and we do a lot of that here because we're not doing client jobs. We kind of eyeball how we want things to be, and so sometimes those numbers can be inflated, and that's okay as long as it looks fine. Okay, so we'll talk about that later on. Probably not in this series, but we behind us we have a living room dining room combination. So we're gonna talk a lot about that going forward after we do the kitchen build. So I think that's how we're gonna do it. We want to get into some other stuff too, some other builds, but we'll talk about that later. Today we're gonna stick to the tutorial at hand. So again, we've already drawn out our floor plan, how we want the kitchen to look. And even though we're not doing a client job, we kind of want to pretend that we are. In other words, how do we want the kitchen to be how we want it to function? Is it easy to work in? Okay. Can we get to the stove? Can we get to the workspace? Can we get to the dishwasher? Can we get to the refrigerator? If we're making something, we're making a recipe, can we get to the fridge and then back to our workspace efficiently? That's kind of like the magic word there. So as you can see there, if the shot doesn't change on me, in the center there is our workspace, and then our refrigerator and our oven are going to go on the 45 angles there. And then on the left-hand side will be our sink and our cooktop, respectively. So I think that's a pretty decent layout. And in between the sink and the cooktop, there'll be a small workspace there. So I think that will work. That's something I would be happy to do for a client if it needed to be. So our next thing here is we're going to change, just in our case. It may not be in your case, but in our case, this cake panel here, we're going to get rid of it. And we'll talk about how we replace it going forward. But we're going to make those cake panels there, we're going to actually make those walls. Because again, as we talked about, that's where our refrigerator and our ovens are going to go. I'm not sure which side we want to do, but that is where they are going to reside. So we'll go in here to, where are we at? Oh, we've clicked on the wall, and now we can change the wall height. Okay. So this is a sunken kitchen, which is really neat. It's going to be really nice, hopefully, when it's done. But the ceiling height is pretty high because it is down about 3 feet. So it's going to be 18 feet. It's like the Sistine Chapel or something. But again, we'll talk about those crazy numbers down the line. Right now, we're going to stick to the kitchen. Okay, so we have 2 models from Sweet Home 3D. Both of these are legacy models. Okay, that's not a bad thing. But this is the double tub sink we wanted to use, but it's a little, the light kind of reflects off of it, which is cool, but it's kind of blurry, kind of. We really wanted to use the sink. That was the one reason we couldn't really use it, or kind of deterred from using it. Deterred, is that the word? I think it is. Okay, kind of sounds bad. All right, so this sink here is a little cleaner. So we're going to go with this sink here for the sake of the tutorial. I'm not sure how that double tub sink would actually render too. That might be an issue as well. So let's go ahead and get into this. So we're going to make the cabinet disappear. We don't need that lower cabinet. Now, I wouldn't stop there. Just because it's gone doesn't mean that your computer does not see it. How do we know this? If we try to lower the elevation, it's still going to account for the cabinet. So, how do we fix that? Because the sink's going to be too high. Once we make everything disappear, the sink is going to be way too high. So, how do we fix that? We're going to export this sink and re-import it. So we'll walk through that process if you have not seen it. But we're going to export to OBJ, and you can see it right there, OBJ, and we're going to give our sink a file name. You can name it, just don't name it like supercalifragilistic16532. Everything will be fine. Okay, kitchen sink 5, kitchen sink 3, because we have in our library, in our computer, different sinks, different everything, different ovens, whatever. So we might say oven 1, oven 3, so on and so forth. You get the picture. So we will go ahead, we're going to export the kitchen sink here, and we're going to re-import it. All right, and there it is right there. If you've never done this before, pretty simple step. We want to align these to how the windows show. The main ones are going to be the left side and the front. Those are those most important windows there, because everything else will line up with that. So then we're going to hit continue, and we're going to just continue, finish, and we're done. So now our kitchen sink's here, and now we can make the elevation wherever we want. So from 0 to infinity, pretty much. So the next thing we want to do is we're going to begin mocking up the kitchen. We want to create a template because, well, we'll explain later, but we want to create a template. So we're going to grab our box right there. I'm going to rename that a cube because it's more like a cube than it is a box. I think of a box with flaps and, openings, and I don't know. I mean, by definition, it is a box, but we'll move on. We'll move on. All right. So we're going to take our box and we're going to mock everything up. We're going to, set everything up so we can have our countertops. So we can just take the tab. There's a tab on there, and you can stretch that out to however you need it to be in your build. And we set it to our build, and then we can get the numbers off of those countertops if we want to. Okay, so the way we're going to lay this out, again, our sink's going to be there on the right hand side, our cooktop's going to be on the left, and the workspace, the secondary workspace, will be in the center, right? And then we have it, there's our primary workspace, and I don't think anything's going to be over there except the lower cabinets, the upper cabinets, and then the workspace. So we might add a few things like, you know, knives or something like that, knives, a cutting, what do you call that, like a cutlery set? Like the block, we'll maybe put that in there and some other items. But that's not for this video right now. So, see, we're getting ahead of ourselves. We don't want to do that. All right, so as you can see, the kitchen is now mocked up. Okay, this is a template. This is not the final thing. As you can see, the counter is going right through the sink. So that's not going to work. That's definitely not a final product. All right, so let's work with this real quick. We want to take our lower cabinet and just apply texture to it. So the unfortunate thing with this model is that the textures are on different scales on different surfaces. So the front's one scale, you know, the sides and the back are a different scale. I wish it would be this. I wish it would, you know, I wish it could be the same scale for the entire piece there. That would be nice. Now, sometimes in our builds, we're gonna inquire or oh, my words are pretty bad today. We're going to come against some unforeseen circumstances, okay? So this is one of them. So we've been using the box to mock up our countertops, but on this one, we can't do that. We've got like a right angle wall, and it turns to, you know, a different angle, and so we need to make a template for our counter here. So instead of using the box, we're going to use the walls to do that. When we finish the wall, we want to make sure that we're lined up. And when we double click and we finish the wall, it's going to be totally highlighted. All the angles are going to be highlighted. At that point, we don't want to touch anything else. We're going to right arrow or left arrow, whatever is applicable. We're really struggling with that word. And we're going to just take that wall and just slide it out from our workspace. Okay? So that's done. We're going to get back to that probably in the next video. Let's move on to actually mounting the sink and setting up our countertops. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to down arrow. So now we're going to, you know, export to OBJ, and now we're in the import process. Okay, this is where we are now, and as you can see, we down arrowed, and that takes the sink and it dips it on an x-axis 90 degrees. And yes, we actually did that. Everyone's going, what? So yeah, that's actually a thing. And we'll see here in just a moment why we did that. So, because there's no tools to mount sinks to countertops, we're going to use the walls to do it. We're going to set the sink to door or window. Okay? Once we do that, we can begin drawing our walls. And we're going to take the dimensions from our countertop that we mocked up in our kitchen. And we're going to take those very numbers and apply them to the wall settings. So, the only thing is, it's going to be a little different. So your depth of your countertops, let's say they're 1.5 feet, okay? That's what you're going to plug in for your wall height, okay? So the length we're not worried about because we actually imported the countertops that we mocked up for the kitchen. We imported them into this space. Another thing I mentioned that too, when you're putting sinks in and you know, doing really cool creations, you want to do them away from your project. Some things you won't have to do that, but something like this, where we have to mount the sink to the counter, we don't want to do that in the same project, because if we click something that we didn't mean to click or something like that, you know, we may ruin our project. So here it's kind of a fail-safe. So we just simply created another file name, and we loaded a new save. We loaded a new project. So now we have both projects down in our toolbar. It should be the same for Mac. We're on Windows, but it should be the same for Mac. I'll show you that in a second. So now we imported the whole thing back into our project, right? And there it is right there. Proof is in the pudding. Now we did make a boo-boo. We did not add texture to the bottom of that counter, as you can see right there. All right. So how do we fix that? How does that a thing? There's so many unforeseen circumstances sometimes, and it's okay. We can fix them. It's no big deal, right? You know, we can cancel red alert. It's okay. So how do we do that? And I'm just inspecting here to make sure everything is it's good. It's all good. But as you can see down there in our start, our toolbar, we have both saves highlighted. We have Creation Station, that's our other save, and then we have New Kitchen. So we have 2 files, loaded. They're ready to go. So if I click here, I don't have to load in. It takes me right there. I can change anything that I want to change and then go right back. Now, I'm still going to have to export and then re-import that, what I've changed into the space. But I don't have to load and then save and then reload, and you don't have to go through all that and pull your hair out over it, right? So that's cool. Anyway, there is our cake panels. There is our sink. Up there is our living room, dining room combination. We're gonna do that in another tutorial. But with that, I think we're gonna wrap things up. So, give it a big thumbs up if you're liking the tutorial. If it helped at all, let us know. Leave a comment. That'd be great. Consider subscribing, clicking the bell, and then click notifications so you are notified when we release the next video here in the series. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank everyone for hanging out, for watching, and for visiting the channel today. Signing off for now. We'll see you soon. Goodbye, everybody.